What if I told you that in 2026, making $100,000 a year in America no longer guarantees financial comfort? Millions of Americans are working full-time jobs, earning more money than ever before on paper, yet still struggling to pay rent, buy groceries, afford healthcare, and save for the future. The cost of simply existing in America has exploded, and most people don't fully realize how dramatically life has changed until they check their bank account. In today's video, we're breaking down the real cost of living in America in 2026, where the money is actually going, and why so many middle-class families suddenly feel financially trapped. Welcome back to The Dollar Pilot. America has always been known as the land of opportunity. For decades, millions of people around the world dreamed about building a better life in the United States. The idea was simple: work hard, earn a decent income, and eventually achieve financial stability. But in 2026, that dream feels increasingly expensive. Across the country, Americans are asking the same question: how are people surviving financially right now? Because even people earning solid middle-class salaries often feel overwhelmed by the rising cost of living. And honestly, the frustration is understandable. The average American today faces financial pressures from every direction at once. Housing costs are extremely high. Groceries remain expensive. Healthcare costs continue rising. Car insurance premiums keep climbing. Interest rates are still elevated, and basic everyday expenses now consume a much larger percentage of income than they did just a decade ago. For many Americans, the issue is no longer luxury spending. The problem is affordability itself. Let's start with housing, because this is one of the biggest financial burdens in modern America. In many cities across the United States, rent prices have doubled compared to pre-pandemic levels. Buying a home has become even harder because mortgage rates remain significantly higher than they were during the low interest rate era. A monthly mortgage payment that once cost $1,900 can now easily exceed $3,000 depending on the location. And it's not just expensive cities like New York, Los Angeles, or San Francisco anymore. Even smaller cities and suburban areas have experienced major increases in housing costs. This has created enormous pressure on middle-class families, young workers, and first-time homebuyers. Millions of Americans now spend a dangerously high percentage of their income just on housing alone. And when housing becomes expensive, everything else feels more stressful financially. Now, let's talk about groceries. Food prices in America remain one of the biggest frustrations for average consumers. People walk into grocery stores expecting to buy a few items and leave shocked by the final bill. Eggs, meat, milk, bread, snacks, fast food, and restaurant meals all cost significantly more than they did a few years ago. Even though inflation headlines may sound calmer compared to previous years, many prices never return to older levels. This is important. Inflation slowing down does not mean prices go back down. It simply means prices are rising more slowly, and that difference matters. Many Americans expected prices to normalize after the pandemic years, but instead they discovered that the new normal is simply more expensive. Transportation costs also continued draining household budgets. Car prices surged over the past several years. Auto insurance rates increased sharply. Gas prices remain unpredictable. And maintenance costs for vehicles are much higher than before. In many parts of America, owning a car isn't optional. It's necessary for work and daily life. That means transportation has become another unavoidable financial burden. Healthcare is another major factor. America already had one of the most expensive healthcare systems in the world, but many families now feel trapped between rising insurance premiums, expensive medications, deductibles, and emergency medical costs. Even people with employer-provided health insurance often struggle financially after unexpected medical bills, and this creates constant anxiety for millions of households. Now combine all these pressures together: high housing costs, expensive groceries, transportation expenses, healthcare bills, debt payments, utilities, childcare, insurance, and suddenly even a good salary starts feeling much smaller. This is one reason why so many Americans say they feel broke despite earning more money than previous generations. But there's another important issue happening beneath the surface: lifestyle inflation. Over the last decade, social media completely changed how Americans view success. People constantly compare themselves to luxury lifestyles online: expensive apartments, luxury vacations, designer brands, high-end cars, perfect lifestyles. and this creates massive psychological pressure to spend more money. Many Americans finance lifestyles they realistically cannot afford because modern culture constantly encourages consumption. Buy now, upgrade now, finance now, subscribe now. Everything in the economy pushes people towards spending, and credit makes it easy temporarily. But eventually, debt catches up. This is why credit card debt continues reaching record highs in America. People increasingly rely on debt not necessarily because they are irresponsible, but because maintaining basic living standards has become harder financially. Now let's discuss wages. Yes, wages increased in some industries after the pandemic, but in many cases, the rise in living expenses outpaced wage growth. So while people technically earn more dollars, those dollars buy less. That's why many workers feel like they are running faster financially just to stay in the same place. This creates exhaustion. People work overtime, take second jobs, drive for Uber, freelance at night, sell products online, yet still struggle to build meaningful savings. And perhaps the scariest part is how many Americans feel financially fragile. Millions of households are only one emergency away from serious financial trouble. A medical emergency, a job loss, a major car repair, a rent increase, and suddenly everything falls apart. This level of financial insecurity is becoming increasingly common even among middle-class workers. Now let's talk about young Americans specifically. Gen Z and millennials face a completely different financial environment compared to older generations. Housing prices are dramatically higher relative to income. Student loan debt remains a burden for millions. The cost of starting a family increased significantly, and retirement feels far away for many young workers already struggling with present-day expenses. This creates a sense of hopelessness for some people. Many younger Americans feel like the traditional American dream is becoming harder to reach. But here's something important to understand. The economy itself has changed. America is no longer operating under the same financial conditions people experienced in the 1980s or 1990s. Globalization changed labor markets. Technology transformed industries. Housing shortages increased prices. Healthcare costs expanded. Asset prices exploded, and inflation permanently changed purchasing power. This means financial survival today often requires different strategies than previous generations used. That's why financial literacy matters more than ever. Understanding budgeting, managing debt carefully, investing consistently, avoiding lifestyle inflation, building emergency savings, and learning how assets work. Because relying entirely on earned income alone has become increasingly difficult for many households. Wealthy individuals often focus on owning appreciating assets like businesses, stocks, index funds, or real estate because they understand inflation reduces the value of idle cash over time. Meanwhile, many workers rely only on paychecks that struggle to keep pace with rising living costs, and this creates a widening wealth gap across America. Now here's the reality nobody likes hearing. The cost of living in America may continue rising long term, not because the country is collapsing, but because structural economic pressures remain strong. Housing shortages, government debt, healthcare costs, energy prices, corporate concentration, global instability, and ongoing inflation pressures all affect daily life financially. That doesn't mean Americans are doomed financially, but it does mean people need to adapt. The era of casually ignoring money management is over for many households. Financial discipline matters now more than ever, and honestly, this is why channels like The Dollar Pilot exist, because understanding the economy is becoming one of the most valuable skills a person can have. When people understand how inflation works, why prices rise, how debt traps consumers, and how assets build wealth, they begin making smarter, long-term decisions. The goal is not fear, the goal is awareness, because awareness creates preparation, and preparation creates financial stability. At the end of the day, the real cost of living in America in 2026 is not just measured in dollars, it's measured in stress, in uncertainty, in financial pressure, in longer work hours, and in the growing feeling that many Americans are working harder while getting less in return. But understanding these economic realities is the first step toward navigating them intelligently. Stay informed, stay disciplined, and remember, the people who understand the economy are often the people best prepared for the future. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe to The Dollar Pilot for more real-world insights into the American economy, personal finance, inflation, investing, and the financial realities shaping everyday life across the United States.